Hello, and welcome to this White Storm Lightning tutorial. Today we'll be discussing positional entities. We discussed them a little bit in tutorial 0. We also discussed entities in general last time, or pure entities. The knowledge we are going to learn today, if you so choose to watch the rest of this tutorial, will also apply to mobile objects or mobile entities in the future, but we will not be going in depth with mobile entities today. So the first thing you're probably gonna do is open up your White Storm Lightning command line interface. Please enter C:. I don't want horror stories about how people rewrote their disk or something crazy because they didn't enter this. So please enter C:. Now go to your White Storm directory. And there we go. You're going to want to hit 1 and create an entity, but I'm going to show you the entity you're going to create. So let me open that up for you. Okay, so as we can see here, we hit 0 to clean this up a little bit. We're creating a positional entity. It has component ID 1. By now you should know how to use the interface, so you should be able to make these settings on your own. It is object ID 0. Be sure to name it game object, by the way, because the code I'm going to put a link to in the description for this tutorial relies on it being called game object, or the entity being called game object, and having an object ID of 0. You can check off initialize, refresh, and you can also enter this script path and this script path. By now you might know the convention, but I'm going to go over it again. The convention is to put object scripts in src/scripts/objects, the name of your object, and then whatever state it is, then .lua. So if we're going to set a state for, or we're going to make a script for this initialized state, we're going to put it in src/scripts/objects, then the name of the object, then initialize.lua. The same goes for refresh, except to replace initialize with the word refresh. The same will go for destroy, and for physical behavior, we just put physics. Okay, so if you don't know how to use the White Storm Lightning command line interface, go back and watch tutorial 2, I believe. I will leave a link to that in the description. Okay. Excuse me. I'm going to quit out of the command line interface, and I'm going to start up White Storm. Okay. So I still have io.read from the last tutorial. The entity successfully game object apparently, and we're creating a game object. So those are printed from the initialize script, which I'll show you in a second. And then, of course, all this output here is printed from the refresh script. Now, if you're wondering what this level refreshed is, we will talk about that in a future tutorial. And, of course, if you need any help whatsoever, there is help available on the GCG Games forum, and I will leave a link to that in the description. To properly exit White Storm, click on the White Storm window, and then hit Escape, or the ESC key, as it commonly is. So, now I'm going to show you some scripts, and we're going to be writing some scripts. Now, if you're going ahead and experimenting with things, you should know that you need to create objects from least component ID to highest component ID. So if you have an entity and a mobile, you need to create the entity first. And if you have like 3 entities and 1 mobile, you need to create all the entities first and then the mobile last. If you're not going ahead, don't worry about that last statement I just made. We will go over it later. So, go ahead and open up initialize.lua, or you're not going to have it because I'm going to send you the code that is not this. Successfully created. I want to fix that first. So as you can see, same thing as last tutorial in this file, and for this file as well. So here's the big thing with positional. It has a position. Now in WhiteStorm, we call functions from objects. So position is an object, specifically an object of type XYZ, but you don't need to know that. To call a method that is inside positional, we use a colon. If you're going ahead, you can use a dot to call a public variable. So we use a colon to call a method and a dot to talk to any variables. So let's use a colon, and let's say set x. Let's set that to 100. Position set y. Oopsie. To 100. Let's set that to 200. And we can also set a z at position in WhiteStorm. Set z. And let's set that to 150. Keep things interesting. Okay. So let's run the engine again. We don't need this window anymore. Oopsie, I ran the command line interface. Let's run the engine. That's what we want. Okay. Enter. Wait a minute, I don't see anything. Where's the positional? You said positionals could be seen. Well, positionals can actually only be seen if they have components attached to them, which we will get into in a future tutorial as well. But we have set the position of this invisible object nonetheless. So when I say invisible, it also cannot collide. Just to clear that up, if we want to know where the object is, we print position get x. Let's say we'll do this in refresh.lua. T and position get y. So even if you do not know Lua, this should be a little bit new to you, at least, with the colon and calling the function. The calling of the function. Excuse me. Position get z. Alright, so what that'll do is every frame we're going to print the x coordinate, do a little bit of formatting, print the y coordinate, formatting, and print the z coordinate. Let's launch WhiteStorm to see what happens. Hit enter, and there we go. We can see that the object is at 100, 200, 150. So a little bit of inquiry here. You'll notice that the values that we set in initialize.lua were retained in refresh.lua. That's because we have globals in WhiteStorm, and position is one of these globals. That doesn't mean if you go to another positional object or another instance of a positional object, as we'll get into later, that position will be the same for it as it is for this object. We just have globals that are specific to objects. So that is the basics of a positional. We can also set positional rotations. So object that exists for everything in WhiteStorm. So entities have this, positionals have it, and mobiles have it. So set rotation, let's say 45 degrees. Now in refresh.lua, you can print the rotation is, and then object get rotation, and then just do a pretty asterisk for formatting, Make it look like the degree symbol. And there we go. Let's launch Whitestorm and see what happens. Alright, so you can see the rotation is 45 degrees. Ooh, I can format things in a bit of an ugly manner sometimes, but that is our rotation. And don't think you have to print this in refresh.lil. You can print it in any of the states. Let's go ahead and print that in initialize.lil. Let me hold on and save refresh.lil really quickly so we don't have that printed in both. Now, I should mention you can actually live edit things in Whitestorm. So as Whitestorm is running, I could make changes to this script, which I'll show you in a second, and they'll be reflected in the engine. Let's go ahead. We can see that the information that we've requested to be printed in initialize has been. And it is not being printed in refresh because we haven't put it in refresh. But if we did, and hit save, look at that. I could even print hello world. Look at that. Hello world. Alright, I can even change the position. Now, with positionals, you can actually change their position later on. But I don't suggest, actually, let me show you that in a second. You can change the position later on. So say I wanted to change the z-axis of this position. So set z, let's say 250. I'm feeling 250 today. Okay, it's changed. You'll notice that it started printing less messages because we took messages out. But let's print the z coordinate is position get z. There we go. We can see that is 250. I could change this to 610 or 6,100. Let's do that for fun. There we go. The position is 6,100. I could even make this rotate out of control. So object set rotation object get rotation +1 print the object is spinning out of control. Print its rotation is object get rotation and we can see that that is printed in the command line, or yeah, in the Whitestorm console. You see that that is in fact changing the rotation. One thing I don't suggest with doing right with positional objects is changing their position. For example, it's just bad practice because that is what mobiles are for. So the way we could change a position in a positional object is doing something like this. This I consider bad practice. As you can see, the position is changing. If you look right here, oops, right around here. So 6,213. Now it's 6,214. I consider this bad practice because that is what mobiles are for, and mobiles do it in a much more a better way. So don't do that. Be cool. I'm going to show you a little bit of a debugging technique. I'm going to deliberately make an error. Alright, you know what? Position set z 100. Let's say we want to set z to 100, but we've put a lol on the end of this. Uh-oh. Look at that. These messages aren't being printed. Oh look, I found an error. Oh look, the messages are being printed. What about this? Position set Q. I don't know of a method called set Q. I think it'll do it this way. Oh, that's weird. We see object beginning refresh, but we don't see object refreshed. Well, or game object refreshed. I wonder what's wrong. Oh, look, that doesn't exist. Delete it. Oh, look, now it's working. Now, I suggest not deleting these every time and just commenting them out, so they don't spam out your console if you don't want them to. Okay. Thank you for watching. This just about wraps up this tutorial. And next time we'll be getting into mobile objects, and then after that, maybe even some components. Please rate, comment, subscribe, experiment, and download Whitestorm.